taste a little bit by rinsing them before you actually put them on your drying trays. Now I want to actually show you how to do an apple. This apple peeler is from a company called Back to Basics. It's available at your local retailer or at the Preservation Pantry. It peels, cores, and slices an apple in about 8 seconds. When you finish, the apple looks like this. Slice it once and add it to the sodium bisulfite solution. I'm going to let these soak for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to rinse them and put them on the drying tray. These have already been rinsed. Now I want to show you something fun that you can do. Sprinkle your apples with a little bit of red gelatin. And if it's close to Christmas, you may want to use green. Put these on your drying tray to dry. You can also use cinnamon and sugar. You can use plain cinnamon if you don't want the added sugar. Those will dry into a cinnamon apple. And then, of course, we have our plain apples. This is a tray which is already dried. You can see that they shrink quite a bit in drying. And I want to show you one other thing. And that is that when apples dry completely, they're crisp. This is different from the other fruits that you're drying simply because apples are better if they're dried to a lower moisture state. About 5% compared to 15 to 18% for most other fruits. Remember that pre-treatment is a key to keeping the nutrition, the flavor, and the color in apples, pears, peaches, and apricots, and you'll find out even more about that by reading my book. It's easy to make your own fruit rolls at home. You can do it from a variety of different fruits. You just need to have solid sheets to pour them out on. These are from American Harvest, and they're great for drying your fruit rolls. The first thing I'm going to show you how to do is to make fruit rolls from applesauce, the easiest thing you can do. Simply buy canned applesauce and pour it out on the tray. Spread it out so that it's even all the way around, about 3/8 of an inch thick. And that's ready to dry. This is what it looks like when it's completely dried. You can see the leather-like texture, which is great. It should be able to roll just like this. Now, if you want to have a little fun, you can make a polka dot fruit leather. Simply take Red Hots and sprinkle them over the top of the applesauce. When this dries, you'll have a little bit of a cinnamon zing. And let me show you what it looks like. Your children will love it. You can also do things like wagon wheels, and this was made using a turkey baster. I simply used the turkey baster to do the applesauce, and I filled it with the strawberry spokes. A bullseye done the same way. Another thing that you can use are cookie cutters. It's possible to make fun shapes with the fruit roll simply using a cookie cutter. Place a cookie cutter on the tray, make sure that it has an open top, and using your poultry baster, simply fill it with applesauce. You want to fill it again about a 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch high. Make sure his little feet are done there. Very carefully lift up the cookie cutter, and when that dries, it's going to be a cute little bear. Now sometimes, if you're busy, you may happen to over dry your leather. This strawberry leather was dried a little bit too much, and you can see that it's crunchy. Don't despair. Save the individual little pieces, put them in a jar, and sprinkle them on your cereal in the morning. Better than having fresh strawberries. Another thing you can do if you happen to over dry it is to add another layer of fresh fruit onto it. This is strawberry, and we're going to add another layer of applesauce because this one's over dry. When this dries, enough moisture will go from the applesauce down into the strawberry to make it dry the right consistency. And this is what it looks like when it's dried. A two-tone strawberry apple fruit leather. It's also possible to make fun fruits, just like the ones you buy at the store. Simply take a candy mold, fill it with applesauce or whatever kind of fresh fruit you're using, let it dry. You'll have to fill it and dry it about 4 times to have it fill all the way up. And this is what they look like. You can do them in any shape that you have a candy mold for. Now I'd like to show you how to make fresh strawberry leather. Wash the strawberries, take off the tops, and put them in your Vitamix TNC or your blender. Put the lid on, and if you want to add any sweetening, be sure to use a white corn syrup instead of sugar because it doesn't crystallize when they're drying. If you want the color to stay light, you need to use a little pinch of sodium bisulfite. And a pinch of sodium bisulfite will keep the colors bright rather than turning brown. Turn it on. The wonderful thing about the TNC is that it has such a powerful motor that it even grinds up the strawberry seeds. Let's pour this out on a tray. Again, about a 1/4 of an inch thick. Spread it to the edges. And that'll be dry in about 4 to 6 hours. It's fun to make your own strawberry and other flavor fruit rolls, even your fun fruits, and they're a fraction of what they cost at the store. You also won't have any additives or preservatives. One of the keys to keeping your dried food tasting good is to package it and store it correctly. There are 3 things which cause dried food to spoil. One is air, one is heat, and one is light. If you can protect your dried foods from all 3 of those, they're going to keep a lot longer. There are several ways that you can do that, some better than others. One way is to use self-sealing freezer bags. And be sure that it's a freezer bag and not just a regular plastic bag. Regular plastic bags do not have a moisture and an oxygen barrier. Do the best you can to get out the excess air. And if you have a container that you can store these in that will protect them from the light, they'll last longer. The ideal solution is to use a product called the Food Saver. And the Food Saver is a commercial quality vacuum. It takes out the majority of the air out of the packaging. You can package in a Food Saver in several different ways. One way is in the Food Saver bags. This is a fruit roll that has been vacuum packaged. Let me show you how it works. Place the Food Saver bag in the vacuum chamber, the end of the bag in the vacuum chamber. Close it, lock it, and heat seal it. Most of the air is out of that package. Another option is to use one of the Food Saver canisters. They have several that work great. The large canisters go up as far as 4 quarts. This is a smaller one, and they also have the designer canisters. It's also possible to package in regular canning jars simply by using the Food Saver hood. Let's package one now using the hood. This canister now has most of the air out of it. But to break the vacuum, you simply have to push the button on the top, and the air rushes back in. Food Saver bags come either pre-cut or in 8-inch and 11-inch rolls so that you can cut them to fit and get the right size. Remember that you need to protect dried foods from heat, light, and air. The Food Saver system protects them from the air. I keep 4 freezers running full of dried foods. The difference in shelf life between keeping it in the freezer and keeping it on your shelf is 4 to 8 times. You can store it on your shelf and it will last for 6 months to a year. If you keep it in a freezer, it will last from 5 to 8 years. Having the right equipment, using the right packaging, will make your dried foods taste better and last longer. Most dried fruits you'll want to use just as they are. Eat them straight out of the bag. But occasionally you'll want to rehydrate them to use in a recipe. Rehydrating is simply adding water back. Let it soak for 15 to 30 minutes. If you want to do something fun, add a little bit of juice instead of water. After these have sat for a half an hour or so, I'll drain the juice off, and they're ready to use in an apple pie. I baked this apple pie this morning using the Jetstream oven from American Harvest. It baked in only 35 minutes. The Jetstream gives conventional oven results, microwave fast. Now another way to use dried fruits is to rehydrate them and use them in breads and other baked goods. This American Harvest Bread Maker Classic makes it easy. In fact, it even bakes 2 loaves at once. Simply add dried fruits to the rest of your ingredients. Set the controls, and in a very, very short time, you're going to have absolutely beautiful results. There are a lot of different ways to use your dried foods. Everyone likes jerky. But at $5.99 for 4 ounces, that figures out to around $24 a pound. Choose the leanest cut of meat that you can find and have your butcher slice it for you. Making your own jerky at home is really easy and it's delicious. You can either make it from ground beef or you can make it from a cut meat. This is a flank steak which I've already cut and is ready to put into marinade. The slices are about 1 inch wide. I've cut it across the grain so that it's a little bit more tender. You can marinate it either in a sauce that you've made from a recipe in my book, or you can use one of the American Harvest seasoning mixes. I'm going to mix it in the TNC with about a half of a cup of water. Pour the marinade over the fresh meat. And mix it until it's completely covered. And the marinade touches all of the different pieces of the meat. It's possible to food savor the marinade with your fresh meats for several hours and actually decrease the time that you're going to actually have to marinate it. This one was marinating for 6 hours in the refrigerator already. So the marinade has completely penetrated the meats. Let me show you an easy way to make jerky out of hamburger. This is the American Harvest Jerky Works. Simply fill it with hamburger that has been mixed with jerky seasoning and pull the trigger. In 2 to 3 hours, this is going to be dry, and it's going to look like this. It's going to cost you a lot less than the jerky that you're buying in the store. Now, I wanted to share something with you about game meats. If you're making jerky from game meats, be sure and freeze the product for at least 30 days before you jerk it. The reason for that is that game meats may contain harmful parasites, and the drying temperatures aren't hot enough to kill them. The freezing will. I hope that you're going to have fun making your own jerky. It's nice to take advantage of your garden harvest and save it for winter. Herbs dry very well. Simply harvest them early in the morning while the flavoring oils are the best. Put them on your drying trays and dry them at 80 to 100 degrees. Most herbs are best left right on the stem. This parsley, we're going to dry with the stems on. Place it in your dryer 3 to 4 or 5 hours and they're dry. Herbs are really nice to use in sauces, flavored vinegars, and herbed breads. There are some vegetables that require no pre-treatment. Mushrooms, onions, garlic, peppers, and tomatoes simply have to be sliced and dried. Slice mushrooms lengthwise into thirds and place them on your drying trays. Dried, they're wonderful to use in spaghetti or in sauces. And you're going to save quite a bit over the $22.50 a pound dried mushrooms that you'll buy at the store. Peppers are also easy to dry. They also just have to be sliced. And you can dry red peppers, green peppers, chili peppers, even yellow peppers. You don't want to dry peppers or onions with other products because it will cross flavor. Tomatoes are a lot of fun to dry, and they're very, very easy. All you really have to do is slice them. Remove the core. Slice them lengthwise into about 1/2-inch slices. Put them on a drying tray to dry. When they're dried, they can be used in a variety of different products. They're great to use on focaccia, also in spaghetti sauce. I'd like to show you how to flake some in a TNC. Tomato flakes are great to use in any type of spaghetti or tomato dish. They're wonderful to put on fresh salads in the wintertime when tomatoes are $2.99 a pound. Occasionally you'll dry a batch of tomatoes and one or two or more may turn black. If this happens, you haven't done anything wrong. It's simply because it's a low-acid tomato. They're not harmful to eat, but they don't look very appetizing. Now I would like to talk just a little bit about vegetables that do need pre-treatment. Things like carrots, peas, beans, and corn all dry very well, but they need to be blanched before they're dried. Slice them and then put them into a steamer, either a colander or into your microwave, and steam them until they're heated all the way through. Put them out on your trays to dry. It's also possible to dry frozen vegetables. If you're backpacking and you need a pretty large quantity, all you have to do is pour them out onto a drying tray. These have already been blanched, so you don't have to blanch them first. Make sure that they're just one layer thick. And dry them until they're crispy. Vegetables are dried much drier than fruits are, simply because you want the water content lower. To rehydrate vegetables, you need to soak them in water. You can add hot water and it will work faster. Let them soak for a half an hour to an hour before you put them into a super stew to cook. That allows the cell walls to reabsorb the water that's gone out during the drying process and will make it into a tender vegetable instead of a tough vegetable. Take advantage of your garden harvest by drying it. Drying is one of the easiest and most fun activities you'll ever do. You're going to love the delicious foods you'll be making at home. It's an activity that your whole family will enjoy, making and eating. You'll be saving enough to buy a dryer just by making your own. I know that if you try some of the ideas we've shown you, that it will be as enjoyable for your family as it's been for ours, and that drying will become part of your lifestyle. Thanks for joining us today on the Preservation Pantry's How to Dry Foods Easily.